So, as I record this episode, it's the day before the busiest travel day of the year here in the US, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And my plan is not to be that Thanksgiving turkey as we drive to North Carolina. Well, this is episode 6 of the EV Boomer. I am Rick, the EV Boomer. I am Chief Curmudgeon, and this is one of those episodes where you'll probably say, okay, Boomer, which is fine. So we're getting ready to travel, as I record this, to North Carolina from Atlanta for our Thanksgiving family get-together. Love this time of year. I love Thanksgiving, and it's going to be the first time we probably do it in our EV. As I mentioned before, we're a two-car household for EVs now at least. We have my Ioniq 5, and we have a little 2019 Chevy Bolt, which is a fun car to drive. But we also have a good old-fashioned ICE, internal combustion engine, a Honda Odyssey 2017, and we normally do road trips in that. But it doesn't have a lot of the modern features we're used to today. It doesn't have adaptive cruise control, doesn't do lane centering. It'll beep at you if you wander off, and really no forward collision avoidance. It'll beep at you, let you know you're about to hit something. And it's okay to drive. But long distances, I always get a little tired from it. And when I've done road trips in the Ioniq, I feel more refreshed with its highway driving assist features. It's not a Tesla, doesn't have the full supervised driving, but it still helps a lot by adaptive cruise control, lane centering, and stuff like that. So the decision was, do we take the Odyssey? Do we take the Ioniq? Well, my wife said, take the Ioniq. It's comfortable. It's a good ride. Let's do that. So we can get everything in, get the doggies to doggy daycare tomorrow. Puppy prison, as we like to call it, but we'll get them out. So what was interesting, I haven't driven a nice car maybe for 3 months now, but I had to go to the waste disposal place, or the dump, here just outside Atlanta, which is always a 2-hour round trip, no matter how you do it, because it takes forever to get in and get your stuff dumped. But I had to fill up the Odyssey and get there. Well, there was no gas in it, 6 miles. So nearest gas station, one of those supermarket ones, there was a line. People getting ready for Thanksgiving. I actually had to wait to fill it with gas. It wasn't just a minute. It was a few minutes, and then, of course, it took a while. But I did get 80 cents a gallon off due to the supermarket loyalty card. But then I was taking it to the dump. And I've got to admit, I'm used to one-pedal driving now. So I take my foot off the accelerator, and I'm still going. So it took a little bit of a while to get re-used to that. It was fine. Took a corner. The dump is near the county jail and the sheriff's office, and I couldn't believe it. There was a sheriff sat in the driveway of the sheriff's office with a radar gun. I'm like, you are kidding me. You're getting people on the way to the dump with a load of crud in the back. It doesn't matter. I slowed my limit, got down there, and I was fine. He could have been practicing for all I know, but I'm like, you're catching people out right by your sheriff's office and the county jail. It's a quick trip in, I guess, so... It is what it is. So in this episode, I also take a look at some of the planning theories I had. Because going from northwest Atlanta to North Charlotte, North Carolina, in a gas car is easy. You jump in and you go. You work out the route and you go. You don't worry about where pumps are and stuff like that to fill it with gas. In a lot of cases, you don't need to. The range of the Odyssey, for example, would well cover it, and we just fill it when we're tootling around and then before we come back. But there is some method to my madness, and I'll talk about it in this episode. But I want to highlight a couple of things in the last week. I was watching a load of activity unfold on X, or the old Twitter, and the Out of Spec folks who do great videos, great reviews of electric vehicles. One of the things I love about them is they do these road races from... They've done the I-90 surge from Seattle to Boston. Well, this one was, I guess you could call it an eastern route. They did a top of Route 1 in Maine, I guess near the Canadian border, right all the way down to the bottom of Route 1 in Key West, Florida. Now, I'm assuming they drove I-95, because if they drove Route 1 all the way down, it would be very painful. Certainly having lived in Northern Virginia and Route 1, it's just, I know it's a painful road at the best of times because of all the traffic lights, shoppings, and stuff like that. But anyway, so they did about 2,000 miles, and they did them in all 3-row electric vehicles, which, from what I could work out, was a Tesla Model X, Lucid Gravity, Cadillac Lyriq, I think, Volkswagen ID Buzz, Ioniq 9, and the Rivian 1S. So I'm looking forward to seeing those videos. Check them out on YouTube. Search for Out of Spec. I think they'll probably be up a week or two after Thanksgiving is what I bet. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know who's going to win this one. Everybody was thinking it'll be the Model X, but I think it'll probably be a tight race between the Lyriq, the Gravity, and the Model X. I think the Rivian and the Ioniq 9 will come in not far after that. And the Buzz doesn't have the biggest range. And it's going to be interesting to see, I think, how far behind. Might be a lot less than I think. We will find out. Other factors in this is what I find interesting. It's not one of these runs that's constant temperature. It's going to be frigid up in North Maine, I think about 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so just below freezing Celsius, to probably low 80s in Key West, so, almost 30 degrees Celsius. So I'm looking forward to those videos, and I love the fact that they do them, so check them out on YouTube. Another thing we did in the week was take a Model 3 for one of those 1-hour test drives that you can do from their self-service. I think we got 2 hours. Oh my, 2026 Model 3 has the stalk. I was very impressed. Loved driving it. Very smooth, very quiet. One pedal, I'm used to it with the Ioniq. A little bit more responsive. The bottom end, it zipped a bit, but you get used to it like anything. And we tested the FSD, the full supervised driving. Now, I put it on at the hotel where we picked up the car, and I got a little nervous as it was trying to pull out into a busy road. So I intervened, but that was me, not the car. As soon as we got around the traffic lights onto the way, I put it on. They wanted us to go to a supercharger, which I did. I was very impressed. Not only did it drive us to the supercharger, which freaked my wife out a bit when I had my hands off the wheel, it also reversed in. I thought that was cool. I thought I like this. Boys and their toys, even though I'm a boomer, I've been around, since the World Wide Web was invented, sort of thing. Been along for the ride. And I thought, I'm impressed with this. I want. So we then tootled around. We drove up into a bit of North Georgia, down some fast roads, 4-lane highways. And the only thing that made me a bit twitchy was we're getting up to like 55, 60 miles an hour. The following distance from the car in front felt a little close for me. Like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. And I'm a little older, more defensive driving. I like me 3 Mississippis, but this was a little less than 2 seconds. Now, obviously, FSD can react a lot faster than I can, which is exactly what happened. We got to a near set of traffic lights. I don't know what happened in front of us, but I think the car in front of me was leaving it a little late and had to slam the brakes on. We, of course, then slammed the brakes on. Now, slamming's a little strong, but it was a very aggressive braking. I was looking in the rearview mirror. The car behind me, I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well. Because, yes, I've got FSD. It knows what is going on. It knew what was going on. The car behind me, I'm like, well, screecher tires. It didn't hit me. A little nervous, and I think the gap at the end of the day was kind of okay. But I did have this vision of returning a Tesla 3 demo with the back end scrunched, so we'd probably have a Model 2. Not quite convertible, but a scrunch. But anyway, we didn't. And then we carried on, drove it around a bit, took it around, did a bit of manual driving, let my wife drive it for a bit. She liked it and whatever. She found it a bit low, so I think Model Y would be better for us. But this is one of the vehicles I'm looking into when my lease expires next year on my Ioniq 5. So I was very impressed. Right now, there's some very good lease pricing. Not sure with, where I am in life that a leasing is going to be viable for me. I'm probably better off buying something and then, driving it into the ground now. So I'm not sure brand new or we'll get a used one, but I was impressed with FSD. I did like it. So that's definitely factoring up there in my mind. There's other vehicles as well. There's the Ioniqs. There's the Ford Mustang Mach-E's and stuff like that I think will play. I do like the Ioniq 6. But I'm also interested, again, as I mentioned, boys and their toys, the Konik AI. It just released a version 4 model. There's also another clone, I think the Konik AI, that's come out as well, which is a sort of a clone of the Comma 3X. That kind of thing tickles me, and that would work reasonably well with my Ioniq right now. Won't with the Bolt, because we don't have adaptive cruise control in the Bolt. So let's focus now on the journey to North Carolina. This is where I'm trying to avoid being a turkey, particularly with a car full of people. I don't want to pull into a charging station and there's 3 or 4 cars deep and we're having to wait. And I know California, it can get worse than that. But on the East Coast, it's not too shabby at all, to be truthful with you. But we will wait and see. So one of the tools I use for planning journeys is PlugShare. Great options, done it, looking at it. And then, I can obviously hide, just stations with 2 chargers, 4 chargers. I think there's a bit of a bug because some chargers have 2 individual cables per charger or per charging station. So in some cases, there's a Mercedes-Benz up near Gaffney, South Carolina. If you hit, I think, 6 plus, thinking there's more than 6 stations, 6 charging points, it won't show because they've got, I think, 5 stations, of which 4 of those have 2. So I think PlugShare needs to just be able to differentiate where it has 2 connections that are individual or whether, they'll work it out like they do. But anyway, and I have free Electrify America. Realistically, on the way up, there's only one EA station, I think Greenville, that would work for me. And it's near some others, thankfully. It's near a Rivian. It's also near a Tesla supercharger. So if the 4 stalls are busy, I can zip to another because I think sitting in a Sam Club's parking lot with my family, waiting 20 minutes to get a charger is not going to end well for me. I'm just going to hear, and you're just going to hear it because you drive into a gas station, you fill up and you're gone. So I have done that. But I've made a route in PlugShare where I've highlighted all the chargers, like the Tesla, deliberately picked the version 4 cabinets because then I can fit in without taking 2 spaces. I've marked the Rivian ones. I marked a Mercedes-Benz charger up near Gaffney, which I think I'm probably going to have better odds of getting in and charging. Now, technically, I should only need to charge once. But I have to be fact where we're going, there's very little around there. So my plan is to use a Tesla or a Rivian when we get north of Charlotte. Give it a good goose up to about 80% there, and that'll survive me for a couple of days, and then we'll be charging back to get back. What the interesting thing is coming back is I'm going to be leaving in very cold temperatures. So I'm going to be interested to see how that performs. The other downside is when I am at that cold temperatures, I'm going to have to use the onboard navigation system to precondition before I get to some of these chargers. And the one thing about the Ioniq 5, and I've noticed this, and I've tested this route out, I was sat waiting for my daughter at dance class the other night, and I put in the address where I was, and it said I would need to charge twice, both time Tesla superchargers on the way. I'm like, well, I've got plenty of others, but that's what it picked. What was interesting, and I thought they would pick up on this, but they didn't, is that it said at one of the superchargers, it was a 250 kilowatt, and I would go from, I think, 30% to 80% in about 16 minutes. That's not the case. If you've got one of these 800-volt cars, whether it's a Kia, Genesis, or Hyundai, you know when you go to Tesla superchargers, the most you'll get is either 97 kilowatts if you're a 24 or older. If you have a 25 edition, you get about 125. So the most I'll see is 97 kilowatts, which is not going to get me that charge in 15 minutes. Fortunately, around there's other chargers, but it's interesting they didn't come up. Now, I took Tesla as an option off. It gave me like a Circle K here and something else there, but it wouldn't give me the Mercedes-Benz, wouldn't give me the other chargers. It gave me one Electrify America, the one that I've got flagged as well near Greenville. So I was thinking about this. If you're just going along as a boomer and you buy an electric vehicle and you rely on the onboard planning, it'll work. At the end of the day, both those superchargers will work fine. You're going to be there longer than it says. And I don't think there's better options. So I always wonder if we're going back to like the 1920s or 30s in the early days of cars. Now, of course, there was no internet then. So did people publish maps of where gas stations were? And people would plot their route saying, I've got a tank that can do 150 miles. I need to use this gas station. Are we reinventing that wheel? 100 years later, are we back to that? Now, I will admit I do like planning. One of the other tools that I use is a better route planner, ABRP. I bought the subscription. I do have an ODB dongle. I'm going to plug it in so it can track my usage. Because I don't plan to use the onboard navigation much. I'm a sort of a CarPlay lover, so it'll either be Waze or Google Maps. But I know that particularly on the way back, when it's going to be colder, I'm going to have to use preconditioning. So I may have to use it on the way out as well, as we get half an hour away from... I'm hoping to make it to Gaffney and charge there. If not, I will charge in Greenville, where we may stop for some lunch. But I was thinking about this. If you're just a regular consumer of cars, but willing to go electric for, environmental reasons or whatever reasons, or you just like it, and you're not necessarily tech savvy, it's a mess. It ain't boomer friendly. And there's got to be better ways. And I would love to see maps from CarPlay integrated into my Ioniq 5 charging. So it could precondition, or a manual precondition. I think the 25 Ioniq 5 has manual preconditioning, but the 24 does not, and older. And I think that way I could just turn it on. I knew I'm half an hour away. I could turn it on, sort itself out. Because I don't want to get to a charger at 20% and I could hit 240 kilowatts and I'm like dragging along. Because if I've got a car full of kids and Mrs. Boomer, I'm going to hear about it as we're waiting. Now, obviously, we can go off and get some food, but I want to avoid idle fees and all that. So we will see. So I still think there's a long way to go in making this a lot easier. I think there's great apps like PlugShare. Google Maps is now showing, I think, Tesla superchargers and Electrify America in their availability, but that's about it. And I'm sure others will come along. I'll read the reviews. And right now, it looks like the availability is looking pretty good. It's looking like there's one or two out, but not too bad. And I've set them up, but I shouldn't be faffing around with apps on the way. I should be able to say, I'm going to go here. Now, I've deliberately avoided these little onesie-twosies. They're there if I need them. But I do plan to go to some of these higher available, higher quantity charging stations. There's a couple of Pilot Flying J ones, which have always worked very well for me too. So, as we get nearer those, I'll also check availability, because by the time, and I've certainly seen this in the summer, by the time we plug in, the girls were going, well, we're going to be here forever. By the time we went into the store, went to the restrooms, went through the aisles, picked the drinks they want, picked a snack or two, came out, I actually heard the car go clunk and the contactors turning off on the charger. I thought, there you go, point taken. We were fine. We didn't waste any time. By the time we came out, the car was ready to go. So we will see. This will not be one of those out of spec standard races where I will go to about 2 or 3%. No, this boomer in me is like, no. Because no matter, there'll be a power cut in that area. But we will see. So I'm looking forward to that. The weather's meant to be looking really good. We will see. Will this be a turkey? Will I actually be the Thanksgiving turkey on this trip? Or will it have ended well, and it was well worth doing in this day? It's not a huge road trip, but it's one where, for the family, it has to be kind of comparable. Now, they get it, as long as there's things to do, and it's comfortable for them in the back too. I'm looking forward to it. We will see. I know, certainly, I think near where I'm going to be, there's one supercharger 10 miles away, which is about all I've got, so I'll make sure I'm goosed up ahead of time. Have to think about these things. Didn't have to. So I do wonder if at the end of the day, we're going back to like 100 years ago when cars were starting to get adopted. And there was those arguments, of course, between the horse and the buggy and then the car. And now it's, the EV versus the gas car. Same arguments at the end of the day. So we will see. That's it for episode 6. Hopefully episode 7 will be me saying, yep, I was a turkey for these reasons, or no. You know, at the end of the day, it worked. We're ready. This thing is maturing. But I got to admit, having driven the Honda Odyssey this week, I plan never to buy another gas car. driving an electric car. Even the little 2019 Chevy Bolt that we have for my daughter felt so good. I borrowed it this morning to go to the dentist for a little filling. Is there such a thing? And I loved it. Just zipping it, putting it in one pedal driving. I just zipped around there and back. Gotta say. So thank you very much. If you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know, rick@evboomer.com. Please like and subscribe in your podcast catcher, or if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel. Got some plans for this in 2026, a little bit more. You may even see me. Yeah, ugly old me, the ugly old boomer. But we want to make things easy, particularly if you're new to the electric vehicle world, because some things do need to be easier, and they're not. But we'll get there. We always do. So until next week, have a great week with your electric vehicle, or if you're thinking about one, don't think twice. It's well worth it. Bye-bye.